Hello, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos for onlinechesslessons.net, and in this video I'm gonna analyze a game between Grandmaster Karjakin and Grandmaster Yifan from this Tata Steel tournament. And let's get started. White plays e4, black plays e6, which is the French defense. White plays d4, d5, and here white plays knight c3. This is the most popular move against the French, although we should know that white can also play e5, which is the advanced variation, and he can also play knight to d2, which is the Tarrasch variation. So here after knight c3, black plays knight to f6, which is the old variation in this French defense. Usually black can also play bishop b4, which is the binauer variation. So let's see here. After knight c3, knight f6, white plays e5. Here white takes the chance of winning space in the center and also winning a tempo because he threats the knight on f6. And after knight d7, white builds up a strong center by playing f4. And black has to attack this center as well by playing c5 plus knight c6, and usually he can try playing f6 too. This is the way black should play in the French defense in order to attack white's center. So here after c5, white plays knight to f3, and here black plays bishop e7. So here we can make a stop already. Here we should say that black has some ways of playing this line. For instance, I think the most popular move for black here is knight c6, and I had the chance of playing this myself as black a couple of times. Usually white plays bishop e3 to make his center stronger, and here black has two ways of playing. A logical continuation would be a6 followed by b5, then black is winning some space at queenside, and the alternative here is bishop to e7 followed by castle, and possibly b6 defending the c5 pawn, and then as black will be able to play f6. If you want to look more into this line, you can see Carlsen's games with this against Karjakin and Ivanchuk. Those were great games of this line, bishop e7 line. But in this game, black plays bishop e7, which is okay. After bishop e3, I would probably continue with knight c6. So we transition to the previous line. Here black tries something different with b6 followed by bishop a6. I think this line needs more testing, and we'll see if this is good for black or not. I guess considering how this game was, this line is better for white, but we'll see. White plays bishop e2, which is great developing. Black plays bishop a6, white castles, bishop takes e2, and normally here as white we retake with the queen, but we'll see that taking with the knight it's better because we'll play c4 and then we'll destroy black's center, and we are up in development too. So after knight c6, here white plays c4. And here black has a big decision because if black castles, then white can consider, for instance, taking on d5, and here white can create an isolated pawn on d5 and that is not great for black for his middle game. And also we have some good future at kingside. White has a lot of attacking chances there, so I guess here black has to take. That is the best move. And so here after d takes c4, white has the chance of playing d5. By playing this, he wins much more space. And after e takes d5, queen takes. Now white creates a double threat, but apart from this, he's creating, more squares, and now he can advance his pawns as well. Black plays knight to b4, and this is interesting because if black plays something like knight a5, maybe he's defending the c4 pawn, but his development is not great, and I see something like e6 would be great, and then black can't castle, so this would be annoying. And by playing knight b4, black hopes to win some tempo. Queen takes c4 and b5. This is a very active defense, but it's unlikely to work because, as we said, white has a strong center. And here white plays queen e4. We have to say that after queen takes b5, black plays knight c2, and then white has to give up this change. So queen e4 looks better. Queen c8. I like this move because, as we said, I don't think black can castle here. We can play something like a3, e6 as well, rook ad1, so many good moves for white. I guess in order to defend here, black has to trade queens. So after queen c8, white plays knight c3. Looks like a useful move. I think that white can also try playing something like a4, and after b takes a4, knight c3, or rook fc1 also. In these two positions, white is destroying black's pawn structure, so I guess this is great. I also like knight c3 because we are attacking the b5 pawn, and the knight is ready to come to d5 if we have the chance. So black plays queen c6, what makes a lot of sense to me, since if black keeps defending with a6, again white has a lot of options and they are all great. So I guess black prefers being a pawn down, but with some activity and some counterplay. So here, after queen takes c6, knight takes, white gets an extra pawn, rook b8, knight c7 check, makes sense, king d8, and knight d5. So here looks like black is getting his pawn back, but the problem is his king is not great. Actually, white will have the chance of exploiting this, and here we'll see that white played rook fd1, which is a very good move. Of course, the king is there on d file. If you check this with that computer, you'll see that rook ab1, it's also a great option for white, since rook takes a2, it's losing to rook b7. Now the rook on b7, it's a nightmare for black, and he can't play something like king c8, because here after rook c7 we just win the knight. So here let's go back to see how the game was. White plays a rook fd1, which looks pretty logical, and black plays a rook e8. Makes sense too. Black needs bring more pieces to the defense. And white plays rook ac1, attacking the c5 pawn. See, in so many lines we'll consider taking here, and once this knight leaves d7 we'll have discovered checks moving our knight anywhere, and as you'll see in this game, something like this happens. So rook ac1 makes sense. Black decides to take on a2. I don't think black can try anything better. I mean, I think this position is critical for black, but taking a pawn should be a good idea, so at least we grab some material. And here white plays knight to d2. Of course, white's got a lot of possibilities and this knight has a lot of future. And okay, white chances here are still great, and it's also hard to say knight d2 is a bad move, especially if a player like Karjakin plays it. But here I think that knight takes e7 it's stronger, since okay, if black takes with the rook, here we have a white choice. I think taking with the rook or the bishop, this is great for white, since now we have the bishop and black is missing the pair of bishops, and this is an open position, so we should have a powerful attack. For instance, bishop takes c5, rook 6, and then knight c5 here. I guess it should be winning, but the main position, the nice position, comes after king takes e7. Here white has rook takes c5, which is unexpected. Knight takes, bishop takes c5 check, king e6 happens to be the only move. And here, well, rook d6 looks like the main option and should be okay, but then the king comes and maybe taking the f4 pawn as well. So we have the in-between move c4. We threat rook d6 mate, so f5 mate, and here I guess black is losing. If he plays rook d8, then we play f5 mate, and if he defends against f5 mate, we can play rook d6, and black's position, of course, it's hopeless here. We can just take the knight with a check, and material wise white is up clearly, so I think this variation was great too, mainly because of this c4, this in-between move. It's great. I don't think black can't get out of this, so this knight takes e7 followed by rook takes e5 was probably an improvement. Knight d2, we'll see here white still has a lot of options, and here comes c5, which is a nice try to free black's position. It's a nice way of defending actively, right? So I find c5 a great option. We'll see if it works. Knight e4, she takes f4, and here white takes on c5. I think that taking here is much better than taking on f4, since if we take on c5, then these two files are open, and this is quite dangerous, especially considering the king is on d8, right? So bishop takes, knight takes c5, and as we said before, if knight d7 moves, something like knight takes c5, then we can consider something like knight b4 check or knight c3 check, and then we are winning material. So here black plays rook c8. Here white has to be very careful because there are some counterplay here, maybe some mating threats as well. So c3, this is great way of closing this file. And after f takes c3, h3, this is a very nice way of closing this file, and stopping this rook action as well. I mean, looks like a very nice way of defending. Knight takes e5. I guess now black has to play something like this, otherwise we'll have some threats, some discovers, such as knight takes d7 followed by knight f6 maybe. Knight takes d7. When the king takes, knight f6 check would be terrible for black. Otherwise I don't see how black can possibly defend this knight on d7. Something like this. I can just play this, knight takes, and here knight f6 should be winning as well, and it's not only winning the knight but mating black as well, so that is why I think knight d takes e5 is the best way of defending. We'll see black has some counterplay here. Knight b4 check makes sense. King e8 and knight takes rook. So here looks like knight f3 is the best move, and as black we have to try this counterplay because right now black is an entire rook down, so knight f3, we'll see this. The other option black has to consider here is knight d4. Looks tricky. Black has some attacking chances. Of course white has to take the offer, and after knight f3 check, king c2, knight takes. Right now white is up a piece, and I think white is winning with this simple move, attacking the knight, and at the same time white threats rook c8 check followed by rook takes. Unfortunately for black, he can't play king f7 defending the rook, so I guess this should be winning. So I guess Ho saw this, so she tried knight f3 check, king c2, knight to h4, king f1, knight f3 again. Well, now black wants to play c2, but this move is simple enough. Black is gonna promote, but white is gonna win some material anyway. Right now white is an entire rook up, so he can afford giving some material back in order to get a winning position. So c2 check, king f2, then black promotes, rook takes, and rook takes c6. So here we can also mention that playing king takes knight or rook takes c1, we'll see both. This is not that clear because then without the rook we only have one pawn left, and maybe this is not enough for winning, right? We'll have to be careful, like black can try somehow to take the pawn on h3, and maybe these two knights are not enough for winning. There are some positions where two knights are able to mate the king when some pawns are left on board, but I mean this would be too hard to win, so maybe keeping rooks on, it's much easier for white. So that is why rook takes e1 or king takes knight, they are not great options. It's better to keep pieces on, especially the rook, so our chances of winning are much higher and much easier as well. Rook a1 looks like the only move. Now our king was threatening both knight f3 and rook c1. Knight f6 check, king e7, knight c3. Very interesting. I guess if white takes here, well, apart from rook takes a2, black can also consider playing rook f1 followed by rook takes f6. And as I said, white of course has winning chances, but we have only one pawn left, so we have to be careful. I guess this move is okay as well. We have some mating chances if black doesn't defend correctly. So knight e5, attacking the rook, knight cd5 check, king d8. I guess that playing king f8 it's riskier. I mean rook c8 followed by rook c8. The king will end up on h6. That is not a safe square for the king. So I like king d8 better. Rook c3. This is a good move to defend our pawn. We need this pawn in order to win, I guess. Rook a2 check, king c3. Again, staying close to this pawn. Rook d2, king f4, knight c6, and king c5. See how white is improving his king as well. This is going to help us in order to win. Knight e7, and here white chose the best moment to trade some pieces off. Here, as you'll see, now the king can't come closer to king side, because after king f8 we just play rook e8 followed by rook c8, and we have a winning position. If black plays king d8, this rook a3 is great. First of all, stopping this pawn, and we'll take this one as well. We'll have a pass pawn on h3 plus the extra piece. Then this technique it's very good by white. Rook c2 check, knight c4. Like usual, we have to pay attention till the end. Something like king h6, it's losing. Well, not losing, right? I mean, black is getting some material back. We are losing the knight, so knight c4 it's way much better. h6 check, king h4. Well, I guess king h4 looks like everything is winning here, but sometimes it's better to choose the best move without allowing our opponent any kind of counterplay. If we take on h6, I think that black can try something like f5 followed by f4 and rook c3. Then black is getting rid somehow of this h3 pawn. I mean, I guess if white plays correctly, he should win anyway, but it's much more complicated than king h4. We control the c3 square. This pawn is falling anyway. So f5, knight takes, and here after knight takes h6, as the king is controlling the c3 square, this f4 try doesn't have any sense. Here black resigns. So this was a very nice game, a very nice start of this tournament. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll meet again in next videos. Have fun.